Possibility. Just leave yourself open to the possibility that one dawn you wake to find your mind clear. One dawn you win back the love you derailed. One dawn you will kick the habit of blaming yourself. One dawn you will wake to hear a clear signal, a wavelength unmuffled by interference or static. You will recognise the DJ's voice as your own, advertising a unique extravaganza treasure hunt where every clue is a signpost through your past. You will walk through a maze of sleeping estates, collecting golden tickets concealed amid mistakes you made when addiction stopped you thinking straight. That dawn, when figures emerge through the chaos, you will walk forward, unafraid to embrace happiness.
Dermot wrote his poems primarily in the voices of commuters across South Dublin County. So the poems are a kind of embodiment of all kinds of different experiences that people have had across the county. And then the way he kind of installed them, or the way he presented them back to the community, is very interesting in that he chose to present them quite visually by having, for example, the Clondalkin Suite, which was a suite of poems which was very specific to that community. He placed them on the kind of actual walls of locations around the community. And the poems have been developed then across the 2 years and involved contributions from other writers. He invited other writers who either work or live in the county to contribute to the project. And the Night and Day anthology, which is actually being launched during the programme at Rua Red, is the kind of is the culmination of that.
Swapping words in 10 languages for tiredness, fellow passengers stare out, barely able to yawn. They never thought the West would be like this. This journey compounds every ache of loneliness. I close my eyes, unable to stop thinking of home. My mouth so dry, I can no longer taste your kiss. Last night on the phone, I could sense your stress. Our children no longer asking, when will I come? I never thought that the West would be like this. To them, another check from a foreign address. A man who builds apartments we could never own. My mouth so dry, I can no longer taste your kiss. All day, I will shovel cement, yearning to caress your neck with each button of your blouse undone. I never thought that the West would be like this. My mouth so dry, I can no longer taste your kiss.
I think it's quite interesting maybe that he very traditionally sort of published books, but then he was also doing these posters that were sort of using nearly an advertising context and working within the library structure that he's very familiar with. But also as part of the satellite project, he did a really beautiful CD where he projected down onto the ground images that were moving images of words that were actually his poems. So it was kind of a bit of a departure for him in that way. So his writing practice became quite visual for that particular part of it.
For the last 2 years I have been spending an awful lot of time in Tala and Clondalkin and Lucan, and just we all wonder about the people we actually pass in the street, the everyday, the fellow commuters we actually pass, and it allowed me to sort of, you know, speculate on their lives and invent stories for them, and to create an open book of poetry in the sense that it was first published on the walls of gables with a really, really fine mural artist involved. It was as posters and theatres and tax offices, and everywhere the poems appeared there was an invitation from members of the public who read the poems to respond by writing poems of their own. The idea was that the book would work in two ways. One, it would be an anthology of poetry published as posters around South Dublin, and that two, that the audience would also become the author of the book. Neilstown matadors. Supermodels would kill to be this thin. The diet is stress, cigarettes and coffee. My child raising day should be done, but somebody had to step into the breach. Somebody had to pick up the scarlet cloak and hold it in front of the rampaging bull. Old spectators in the bull rings of Mexico pay no heed to fearless young toreadors who imagine themselves to be invincible. Their interest stirs only after a fighter is good, because only when he re-enters the arena will they witness his true test of character. Some afternoons after school in this room, waiting to see the drugs task force worker, when my granddaughter suddenly smiles, when she looks up from her colouring book with eyes that match my daughter's eyes, with eyes knowing nothing yet of the danger of peddlers peddling knees that need to be fed, with quizzical eyes that I would kill to protect, she asks the question that she loves to ask. Gran, what did you do before you did this? What did I do before I took on her welfare? I fought to raise a daughter on these streets. I stood in queues and walked on checkouts. I searched for my child on dangerous estates. I stood up to debt collectors calling to the door. When she shivered in detox, I tried to nurse her. I sold my possessions, or saw them all robbed. I cried until one night there were no tears left. I prayed what remained of my ebbing fate. In time, I wrapped my grandchild into my arms and took the place of the person I loved most. I made a nest amid the possessions, few possessions I possess. I stood up in the ring every time I was good. I watched the bulls run and raised my cloak, repeatedly provided what shelter I could. I picked myself up and wiped off the blood. I waited at school to take her hand, so that walking home, no evil could touch her. I don't say such things as I stroke her fingers. Instead I say, as her eyes widen with wonder, every night, during your 10 years in this world, as you sleep, I enter the bull ring of my sword to stand where your mother would have stood, a gladiator standing guard, a secret matador.
I think in public art, the idea of public art being visual is hopefully moving away a bit, and that there is a sense that a much broader scope of art practices can be included in it, so that you move away from the idea of art being a physical piece of sculpture. And I think Dermot's residency was very important for that. Not to say that, you know, not to denigrate kind of the visual side of things, but I think to sort of bring out a wider sort of practice and have that accessible to the citizens of a county is really interesting.